Hey friends, Bill here. Hope you're having a good week. Hope you had a good weekend. We here in the south, at least near Chattanooga, Atlanta, North Alabama, Nashville. It's quite a snowstorm we had around here, so we were having a gospel invasion team leaders meeting and learned how to use a video call. But five guys were here: Joe, Ensign, Heath, Butel, Steve, Kendall, myself, and we. I then got on the Zoom call with everybody else. There were about 12 of us on there and had a great time talking about upcoming events. I'm excited. We've got, I think, at least, 16 events that are we call gospel invasion events, which are primarily events. They're non-sporting events or a sporting event led by someone other than myself. That's huge. That's a great deal. We had 30 events last year total that we did, and we'll probably get up to that number again. I wish we could do 50 one a weekend, because that's how you get guys out preaching, and that's how sinners hear the gospel. That's our mission, right? In a practical sense, that sinners hear of Jesus Christ crucified and reconciliation with God, receiving eternal life. It's kind of that simple. What our mission is, and so the more events you can do, the more ways you get guys out there to preach, the better. Our next big event this weekend, we'll talk with Stirling about that, as a college football championship. They got a good crowd coming for that. Then on January the 25th, a handful of us are going to be in Tampa for the Gasparilla Fest. So if you live in the Tampa, Florida area, or want to drive in for a couple hours, I got to encourage you to do that. 300,000 people one day. I think it's Gulf to Shore, Gulf to Bay Boulevard. It's amazing. It goes from really quiet, everybody's sober, people rolling out, to the drinking starts. They bring in these ships. The Gasparilla Power Fest is really a replication of a supposed invasion by Gasparilla the pirate, who comes in and takes over. So you see these ships come into the Tampa Bay, and so the ships are firing and flags waving. People acting silly. They start drinking, and drinking carries on till dark time. Heath, how you doing? And so it's quite a variety of souls out there to hear the gospel. And then the next one is Super Bowl Outreach, February 6th to 9, or Super Bowl Week, February 3rd to 9. So I think we're going to have more room. We do have more room. We've got about at least, I think, 12 more spots. So if you want to come to the Super Bowl Outreach, send me a message here. If you know Stirling or Heath or somebody, send them a message, and we'll send you some information so you can get registered. New Orleans, if you haven't been before, it's a Liberty City's dark. New Orleans' darkness sort of stands out more. I would say that New Orleans and Las Vegas certainly use their darkness to attract people in the French Quarter, the center of all that stuff in New Orleans. And they have fortune tellers and tattoo people and all this kind of thing. It's really a weird place. Ironically, if you've never been, you have a canal that runs north and south, meaning from the river to the interstate. Like Bourbon's one of the center places. And then in the middle is Lafayette Square. It's probably about 6 blocks. It's a little bit more than that, but where the action is, it's probably a 6 to 8 block square place. In the middle is a cathedral. And so it's right at Lafayette Square. And so it's just ironic that that's there. We've been praying that cathedral would begin to preach the word from there, and the whole city would be overturned to a righteous city. So we hope and pray that this year would be unlike other years down there, that all the preaching that goes on for several decades will culminate in an overthrow of the wickedness in New Orleans, Louisiana. For the next, several decades going forward, New Orleans would have a new reputation. So come join us. New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary is where we're staying. They've been very good to us, opening up their mission lab for us. We've got a real beds and a real bathroom, a place to meet and a place to teach, all in one building. Lord willing, it all comes to pass. If it does, it'll be quite a bit different than last year in Las Vegas. So praise God. So today we've got our old friend from the South. We'll talk about that in a second. Stirling Long to come talk to us. I think he said that the other day, that Stirling's actually from the South. Is that true, Stirling? You're a Southerner? Is that the truth? Hang on a second. I hit the wrong button. Sorry. How that works. Hang on a second. I'm getting outfoxed by the technology. Almost there. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you, Bill. How you doing?
See, a Southern at heart. South African at heart.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
So tell us, like, you're from Rhodesia?
Yeah.
Is that where you're born?
No, I was born in Johannesburg, but to elderly parents.
Yeah.
And my dad at 65 had to continue working. So he worked in northern Rhodesia. There were two Rhodesias.
Okay.
Northern Rhodesia became Zambia, and then southern Rhodesia was Rhodesia. And that was pretty colonial English. And the South works because of the palms. They can put roads down,
Uh,
fix up the infrastructure, and it works.
so
And
you're from South Rhodesia.
yeah, so I went to school in Grahamstown, which is in an area where Nelson Mandela, close to where Nelson Mandela uh, comes from.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So just describe, if you can, like, I know it's been a long time ago. This is not so much about the politics, just about the lay of the land. I've been to South Africa, but when you see pictures of Africa, you see really stark, like amazing horizon views, and you see pictures of animals and stuff. Just describe what it was like to live there. Were you mesmerized by the beauty as a kid, or did you just take it for granted? What was it like for you?
Okay, so if you in what was then Rhodesia or now Zimbabwe, that is very different to South Africa. South Africa is essentially like Atlanta.
Yeah,
It's built up. There's a lot. It is rural, but it is also there are big cities there.
yeah,
So you see more urbanization. But if you're in Rhodesia, you you'd see everything. You'd have the city. You go 5 miles out of the city, and you'd see the big five, the lakes, the fishing. Uh, quite beautiful. You
yes, sir.
I never hunted,
Yeah,
uh, um, but I mean, I had friends who hunted, but I never did that. But it'll. Let me tell you, the bush will get you. You'll love the tranquility, the
oh,
evening.
really?
Yeah, no, and
So
the
did y'all have
story.
electricity and running in streets and running
Oh
water
yeah,
like
oh
that?
yeah. The way we stayed, we had all those comforts. And here's the beauty about Africa: if you had a boat, there wasn't congestion on the lake. If you wanted to go anti-clockwise, you went on it anti-clockwise. There's nobody there. If you wanted to go, you were on your own. You know what I mean? You had everything to yourself.
Yes.
It's quite beautiful.
Yeah, we were down there. I told you 100 times. So we were down there for the World Cup in Johannesburg, and we went up to Pretoria, and
Yeah,
then you can see kind of the. It's not really plains, but you know, what I mean, the land flattens out quite a bit, and you see the mountains, and you hear the stories of the Afrikaners and stuff like that. Willem, who was with us, I don't know if you ever met Willem, but he was a big Afrikaner guy, and he told us the story. And, he pointed out the monuments and stuff like that. But it was a beautiful place. It's an amazingly, I guess, in that land and that way it works, you get a sense of the scope of the continent. I might be overstating it.
yeah.
So,
The other day, I had a chuckle. We were on a prayer group, and we were joined by Christo, your admin guy, and I greeted him in Afrikaans.
really?
And I'm sure the guys must have thought, gee, I'm a linguist. And then I said, no, hold on, guys. That is the sum total of my Afrikaans. I know Feliz Navidad is my Spanish.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
To show one more story, and I we'll move on. But we went back again
Yeah.
the next year, I guess, for the World Cup 2009. Anyway, so we were there staying with this guy's house, and there was this young man with us, and he had met some girl from Egypt. He wanted to go, meet this girl in Egypt.
Yeah.
Like, man, Egypt is on the other side of this continent. Like, that's a long way away. He described it like he was just going to get in the car and roll up there and come back. But no, Africa is a massive land.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And it is a great place, eh? And I mean, did you go down to Cape Town? Did you?
They go to Cape Town. Just went to Johannesburg twice, but I want to go to Cape Town.
Yeah. No.
So I really want to go to the coast too. A lot of the British people are from where on the coast? What was the name of that city on the coast?
Durban?
not Dunedin, but there was one city on the coast where a lot of English people lived. Is that
Oh, yeah.
right?
On the eastern side.
Yeah,
Yeah. KwaZulu Natal, Durban.
Durban. Yeah, Durban. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
A long flight. A long flight. Anyway, so you're back here, and then your buddy. I said this the other day on the phone. I heard that guy's accent. If you ever hear an accent, the South African accent is very distinct, and I finally figured out where he's from because it was not a Southern accent. You don't have a Southern accent; you have a South African accent. So hopefully he was impressed. Well, cool. So tell us how the preaching's been going. Give us just a general layout for you, Sterling. What is a typical week when you're not traveling? What do you typically do each week?
Okay. I'm involved in helping Peter Salas at Planned Parenthood, and we normally do that on a Tuesday and Saturday. If we from there, we'd like to go to Dahlonega and preach. Dahlonega is a neat city in North Georgia. I think it's historic, and where gold was founded. So it has I don't know what's happened to me, Bill, but I love cities that have been founded on gold. They attract the worst. I mean, all the gangsters, everybody comes there to get rich quick. And that's in Dahlonega, but they've got their museum, and it's a beautiful square, and we preach over there. And we used to go to Helen quite a bit, but Helen has like shut us down because of their pipe in music. They've kept that Alpine. They really wanted to just not have Oktoberfest. They wanted to have it 12 months a year.
Really?
So we've had to find alternatives. And then we also got involved in doing some jail ministry. It wasn't planned, but it just came about. So we're pretty involved with Thursday nights preaching the gospel, and the whole setup there's changed. They don't want one church to dominate. So thinking that, I said to Carol does the women's side, and I go with other men, and it gives us another opportunity to present the gospel, because they're not getting the gospel. They're probably getting Sarah Young bookmarks or something like that, but not the gospel, And so that's, and then what's wonderful is like now the coming up of this college championship to be in Atlanta. I mean, we've been all over, so now just to spend 4 days and just go and plant seed, be a town crier, like from another kingdom, tell them the good news, so it's going to be great,
Atlanta, like we were talking earlier, is definitely over the years, from my time there, they definitely worked hard downtown to organize downtown for foot traffic. And so they definitely created a scenario where they are they're a sports town, sports destination. And so they've done a good job. It's not the best, but it's one of the best cities for that kind of thing out there. They've done a good job with it. Everything's close together. Stadiums are close together. And so they really did a good job.
And if you're preaching, it's pretty convenient because they haven't put on any extra issues regarding sound or anything like that. The biggest issue is that you don't block the pavewalk.
Right.
So they've freed that up a lot, I think, to their credit.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. The Super Bowl's coming back in a couple of years, I guess, this year, and then 2 more, the 3 years from this year.
Yeah.
They'll be back in Atlanta. So they mission accomplished. That'll be their 4th Super Bowl. That's a lot for a city. And, so they're climbing the ladder. So let's go. So y'all go. You've been to a lot of Falcons games this year, and so what's it like to get out and preach at all the games and interact with all the Falcon fans? And do they get to know you and so forth?
They do. I haven't experienced a night Falcon game, but I'm told the crowd during the day is different to the night game. Okay, This year I had that knee procedure, so I skipped a few. But imagine when they get to know you, the you know, the crowd they actually know who you are.
Yeah, yeah,
It's, I'm surprised how perceptive people are.
yeah.
They even those who are selling items, even the parking people get to know you. They're very sharp on the
Yeah.
street. They know exactly what you're doing, you know. And we've had, I mean, an amazing time with Falcon fans. Uh, Imagine fans that are never going to go to church.
Right.
No, it's not in their thinking that they're going to go near there, you know. And you could interact with them, and then to
Yeah.
say, "Hey, we back here," you know.
Do you have a sense of look forward to seeing you?
We've had great response, you know what I mean, with that. I've loved it. It's almost been church outside,
Yeah.
and some of them folks have come and asked us for prayer and things like that, you know. So
Sure.
it's been a definitely an X2 type setup, you know.
So from the time, I guess we met, was the Super Bowl the first thing you did with us in
Yeah,
Tampa?
my first Super Bowl was. It really frightened me. Alex and them with Peter invited me to the Super Bowl, be
Yeah.
part of their team, you know. And you know, Bill, I worked on 5 little sermonettes. When I look back now, and man, we had to preach all day long, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and that's how I got speaking to Heath, because I certainly knew I needed help, you know. But I mean, would you believe that was what 20? When was it was, I know it's our fifth Super Bowl
I
coming
think
up.
2020. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. So from that day to this, what did you expect it to be like it is now? From that first Super Bowl, what did you expect was in your future?
I never envisaged what took place. The I think it started on the second day when in the morning I bumped into Heath and I asked him what he's going to preach, and he said he's going to preach from Psalm 150,
Yeah.
and I like looked incredulously at him, said, "Well, where's the salvation there?" You know what I mean? I mean, and then when I heard he was preaching, he was just up the road from us because we were on that river walk or whatever it
Yeah.
was. I said to Peter, "I've got to go and check out something." And when I got there, I was shocked. He was singing it. And then he turned around and said, "You know, Sterling, we got 66 books. You don't have to get creative."
That's
And
good.
then I knew, what have I started here? Gee, man, you know. And it was so funny. One of our guys was sick, so the turn to preach was just spinning over quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I was really exposed, you know. But at the same time, had this thing that, man, we have to get better at this, you know, and we have to do a proper job, you know. So, and then I just think the Lord just placed us with the right people. I mean, and yeah, we are uh, still as excited as ever that we imagine. I look back and thinking, I wonder what my friends at school say. Gee, the Lord trusted him with that, you know.
Right.
I
Of
mean,
all people.
yeah, yeah.
That's funny. What is your typically your best recurring experience from preaching?
Um, quite a few. Um, we've had people. Um, we had an incident where we thought we weren't being liked in Dahlonega, and we have a feeding scheme on the third Saturday of the month, you know. And we met one of the sheriffs there, and we said, "Gee, this is interesting. We really got shouted down in Dahlonega, and a therapist called the police on us. And there were 3 cop cars who arrived on the square in Dahlonega. And I even said to Carol, I didn't know you on the FBI's top 10 And what happened was we had this feeling, well, we've really not enjoyed because of the word. If you know Deloniga, a pastor had said it's quite a tough place to minister. And this guy who works there as a sheriff said, no, guys, that's not what I'm hearing. I'm in the city every day, and people are talking about it, and people are enjoying what you're doing.
Oh, really?
So that like really shocked us because we just thought we were preaching and nobody's enjoying it. We'd have old people walk past us shaking their head. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I would say, hey, you hippies, lay down your rebellion. You know what I mean? And so we'd have, but it wasn't that really enthused us to know, hey, maybe the Lord is doing something in that city, you know. So that was a great boost, Bill.
What is the consistent negative thing that happens? Just people saying mean things to you, or what?
I think the elderly people would stop and tell us we're not doing it right, the normal church type folk.
Yeah.
And then we did come across a new method where a lot of the young feminist type girls would start, we can't use an amp there, we have to use our voice. They would start shouting next to us, you know, to block us off. So that, I don't know what's happened. I think we've mellowed and we're able to see what it is. You know, you can't answer every mocker. So I didn't have that in me in the beginning. I used to think you had to, and now you can just leave it. You know, so that's crazy. You know,
Where's a place you want to go preach that you haven't been before?
I think Birmingham, UK.
Yeah, why is that?
I was there in 2019, and they have a Christmas time. They have a big German fair, and the next minute I saw these zombie type people, and they were they were climate control activists, but they were dressed like zombies, and they were saying there's no plan B. And I ran over to them and I said, no, let me just tell you, you're right. This earth is cursed, but we're getting a new one. Let me tell you the plan B.
Did you?
And they went nuts, you know.
Really?
And then I realized, hey, that city would be like UGA in Athens, you know. The university is the big influencer into the craze. So, and it's beautiful as well because I mean, you know it. There's churches and there's lots of people walking around.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind just, and it's quite diverse too. So it's not going to be just, you'll have other religions as well. And imagine it would be like maybe Acts 17. You go and and tell them what Paul thought, you know.
That's true.
You know.
How has preaching helped your faith?
That's a good question. I don't think if you think you can do this on your own, then I would say rather go in a comedy, because this isn't, you can't do this without seeking him, praying, and also being in the word. You'll dry up. So it's been fascinating that as we eventually you just start having more and more of the word in you, and you just realize that this is the word's life. You know what I mean? Where I looked at it from having a persuasive argument, like almost like sales. It's not that. It's getting the message out, and he does something that you can't even perceive. He does, like I think Vodi Bochum says, he does the heavy lifting. You know, no, and I think that's the crazy thing. If you go to bed and think you were so brilliant, I think you're going to have a problem, because I've gone to most times crying out saying, I can't do this. You know, this is a, hey, how did we get involved in this? this is too big. You know,
Do you ever want to quit?
no, no. I think that's also age thing. You're realizing you only got so many years, and you want to get out as many as you can. You know, I mean, go and do what you can while you can. You know.
Did you lose a lot of friends?
Let's just say that again.
Did you lose a lot of friends?
Yeah. Um, I think they thought I was daft. Uh, coming from a Catholic background, even family said, "Well, why don't you just leave us alone? Don't preach to those people who need it."
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's been incredible. When I think of the what the Lord has taught us, uh, I'm amazed. Even when I go to prison, Bill, when you see so many men and a man tells you, I can't believe where 24 years has gone and he's done the same. And you can say, well, hold on. Don't you think you're getting humbled for a reason? Let me show you something. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, that's us. We were all that way. You know?
No, that's very true. What for me at least, the Word of God, the whole Bible comes alive. It's not just a book. It's alive, and you see it come alive in front of you.
Yeah.
What other part of your Christian life, shall we say, has been most affected? Like in other words, in this process, we sort of move into a new world, you might say, that you don't necessarily are not in if you're just going to church and working. What in that process of that translation, you might say, what part of your life has been most converted in that process?
Okay. When I married Carol, she said I didn't know how to walk in the Spirit. So I said, come on, man, what's this? And we were driving, and I'd have road rage with truck drivers. And then one day she said to me, she said, take me home. I said, but come on, Carol, couldn't you see this guy try to kill us? You know what I mean? And then she said, no, you don't know how to walk in the Spirit.
Really?
And I think that, I don't know if it's an inbred cultural thing where you have to react, you think you got to do something straight away,
Right.
and you don't have to. The Lord can take care of that. And I also think it makes you less intense, if you know what I'm saying. If a problem happens, so it's like believing and trusting. There's a fine way of knowing that, okay, so this happened, but there must be a reason, and just trust God, He'll sort it out. And I've seen that. Carol and I'll be going for 8 years married, and we've seen that happen. You know what I'm saying? And I'm grateful that Carol pointed that out to me. You know what I mean? And if I ever look at it, if we would just slow down and pick that up, and that's what I've tried to do. I think my grandkids have picked that up. You know what I mean? That I'm a lot more calmer in that, because if
Oh,
anything happened, I'd overreact,
yeah.
and you don't have to. Yeah, that has been the biggest thing in my walk, is knowing that, hey, the Holy Spirit can give you a quiet word and just say, just relax, and you don't have to say the first thing. So that's what I've been working on, if anything. Yeah.
It appears that a lot of things don't happen that would have happened just by virtue of prayer, being about the Word of God and prayer and preaching. That's one benefit. Like, how does God keep you calm? Well, a lot of things that would upset you don't come at you anymore as a result of praying a lot,
Yeah.
so forth. How do you walk in the Spirit? Well, you have to be proactive in prayer and the Word, and then things don't happen that would upset you. Yeah, let me run this by. I was thinking the other day, or the last couple of weeks, a way to understand kind of what happens in this, and what's happening with Jesus and us in a sense as a disciple, as the master of the disciples. So here's the word normal. So Jesus he's normal. You know, he's a God man, but he's normal.
Yeah.
And his teachings are normal teachings. So here's what I mean. One is that what woman, what wife would not want her husband to love her as Christ loved the church? And what man does not want his wife to respect him? And what children really, they may not understand it or not benefited from two parents who love them and raise them in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. See, that's normal. And so sin is abnormal.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is that Jesus is not a religious person. His teachings aren't religious. Sinners receive him as a religious being, but he's normal, and we as sinners are abnormal, and he's teaching us to live a life as if we were normal. That means as if we had not sinned. And so back to your point about road rage, see, to be normal, to be without sin is to love your enemies, be patient, and long-suffering. That's normal. And I think if you look at it that way, you're not trying, it's not a wrestling match because we resist religious teachings. But if you say, Bill, this is normal, like you don't have to fight people. You don't have to, vengeance is not a normal action. Right? But we take vengeance as sinners, as repentant sinners. So if you just thought that through a little bit, you realize, well, hey, because sometimes I think we have to get mad at somebody who cuts us off. Like, I've got to do something. Like you said, I've got to blow the horn. I've got to give you, but we don't have to because, see, and when you really buy into it, that's not normal. Just letting it go is normal. Just another word to apply to the whole idea to kind of take the pressure off so you're not in this religious wrestling match.
Yeah, and it's also your upbringing because we had a very outspoken mom, and one of my elder sisters used to say, "What you tolerate, you encourage." Now think of that. There's nothing more fleshly than that. You know what I mean? There's nothing. Yeah. So what do you got to do? You got to keep fighting like David over everything, but you don't have to.
Right. Right. That's true. It's interesting. The whole thing is pretty interesting. If you were going to stand before 1,000 guys and try to persuade them in your natural reasoning power why this should be open air preachers, what would you tell them?
I would say that if we took all the messages in the Bible, the most important messages would be on what Christ did for us. And it's amazing. Last night we were on a course, and this gentleman said he was in a hospital when 9/11 happened. And the people they said, let's go and pray. But they prayed, 75 of them went into this chapel and prayed, and they prayed to a God. And he said he felt so bad that he didn't say, you know who this God is? It's Jesus. And I think one of the big lies from Satan is that we have to play down what Jesus did. If don't bring in religion. Whereas what I have found, if anything, the men that I've been around, they really love the idea that you convicted about something. And if you are thinking of, if you're in a church, what better way than to live out your conviction?
That's true.
Take out this word. You don't have to be an expert at it, but just proclaim Christ. And it's amazing. The people that you've never thought of will be astounded. You know what I mean? I've seen it just in the British South Africa police, the regiment that I belong, which is now defunct. But I often get an email from somebody, and he'd say, "Hey, I saw what you're doing. Gee, I wish I'd done that." you
Yeah.
know. And now I belong to two dying groups of people. My old school, which was in Grahamstown, South Africa, and the British South Africa. And every year I see these guys fall off, more and more pass away. But more and more say, "Gee, I wish you could have done it." And yet, if we look, we just saying, "No, this is what we meant to do." It's not that we have anything.
Right.
This is all we were supposed to do, is be a witness.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think, that's a good point. I think if there was one emotion we have at the judgment seat is regret that we hadn't done more. And so you might as well do it now, live it up now, because it'll pass fast. And you don't lay on the deathbed and say, I wish I'd done something for Jesus, because you can't get it back.
And there was, I went to Kentucky Derby once, and there was a very elderly guy preaching on his own.
Yeah.
And then you and I know Ernie Bonner.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I mean, thought, look at that.
No kidding.
You know what I mean? And I guess that's like leaving a legacy. And he can even sing.
Right. Right. In French.
Yeah.
So what do your kids think about Dad who's preaching?
They really think I don't have a job. They think it's so easy. You just got to go there and talk. And so I've got a son, who's in his 17th year as a pilot, and then he's going to retire in 3 years from the military. And then I keep teasing him. I tell Carol, he's going to join us in 3 years' time. Because he's got a hobby, he hasn't got a job.
Gotcha.
That's
true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
What about the grandkids? What do they call you?
Yeah,
what do the grandkids call you?
They call me Grandpa.
What do they think?
It's very interesting that you should say that, because the ones in England seem to have had a better Christian upbringing. Although my daughter's married to a Hindu, because of the school they go to, they enact all the Christian things.
Yes.
Whereas the kids in America haven't done that,
Right.
So I think they. I mean, we're still praying for them, but I think they kind of find it, pretty different to all the other the kids and friends who have parents and grandparents.
That's true.
Yeah.
True. Well, that's cool. Who's the most interesting person you've met in preaching?
Okay, I'll give you two funnies. Firstly, a young guy, I'm sure you've seen him, Virgil Walker. He's I went down to Alabama. We had to go to this church, and they asked us to help take some of their congregants outside. And they were talking about Virgil Walker, see. So when I got back to Atlanta, Praise Mill was putting on an abortion event, for Georgia Life. And who would be there would be Virgil Walker. So I went over to him and I said, listen, Virgil, you don't know me, but won't you pretend that you know me? And he said, let's do it. We had all these, and I sent it to these two pastors, say, is this your friend? Yeah, well, and I was kidding that I've known him for a while.
That's funny.
If you had asked me a preacher that influences me the most, I'd say Martin Lloyd-Jones. And I just find a doctor of medicine, and then someone who knows how to administer the word to the individual and help his soul. And I just like the method that he goes about it, the way he preaches complete word. And also, if you look at his background, I think he was involved in being a physician to royalty, and he gave it up and he went to preach to the drunks in Wales. And let me tell you, if you see Celts who can drink, let me tell you, I mean, what's it, John and his brother Charles had difficulty in Ireland with
Yeah,
drunks.
yeah,
And, he wouldn't even have 12 steps in his church. He preached the word.
yeah.
And just his sermons and the detail that he can put into a text. My favorite is one called But God, where he talks about us all going wrong. And then he uses this word of hope, but God, which is taken from Ephesians. So I love him. I mean, I have local guys that I listen to, but I've decided, along with this wisdom, if you're going to follow someone, let him be dead, because then he can't change his sermon. You know?
Can't change his message or his life.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you got a good wife. Tell us, how does that work together? Y'all seem to get along all the time, at least as couples
Yeah.
do.
I think we shock people because that is God too, Bill. I mean, I never knew Carol. Carol didn't know me. And the fun that we have. I mean, when we were snowed in, we were cooking and then she's writing and she does her thing. And then, I've been uh, also involved with Heath and the courses and the GWP. So that is amazing. And then Carol's wonderful. She's very good for me. She's a beautiful wife.
You seem to. You're the one who said, "Well, I've been lucky. I've not had one but two good women." Right? Know what you said?
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. Eh?
That's quite
And then
right.
the other day, Alex phoned me and we were talking, and I said, "Well, Alex, I don't know about these women preachers, you know." And then Carol says, "I'm ready to knock him off the couch." So he says, "Well, have you been indoors too long together?"
That's pretty funny. That's funny.
Yeah,
We'll talk about the Whitfield program a little bit. We're almost done here. Talk about the Whitfield program a little bit.
yeah. So the wood, these are like steps that I've seen. We go out and we have a lot of men folk, and the preaching that seems difficult, we make it easy, because the Super Bowl, the training, the teams would teach you and things like that. But then you need more, you know, and that's where the Woodfield has so helped me. I mean, just last June when we started looking at making an argument and the biblical side of what we're preaching, um, I think it's, if you don't want to go to seminary, this is the way to do it. You can be infused uh, with all this word and training. And then I don't know, Bill, how many books or how many 12 weeks we've done with Heath. I know Dan is way out there. He's ahead
Yeah.
of me, but I've been there with Joe, and I'm amazed. It's the best way to learn a book of the Bible, you know. And then also don't negate things like a Monday phone call.
Yeah.
Going, I was on Monday. Will ran it, and we looked at Sermon 48, the works of Satan, and there's two sermons that stick out to me. Sermon 40 on George Whitfield and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And so he knows the Comforter well, and then he knows the works of Satan, you know. And I say, look at this and the way he puts it over, you know. And then just the normal thing of praying for each other, uplifting one another. And then before you know it, you go and get busy again.
Yeah.
And also in the prayers, incredible things happen where people's needs are met. I mean, financially. I look at young Will. I said, "Hey, come on. I've been praying for you. You got a young family. What's happened? Tell me what happened. How did you just say I'm writing out bills now? Who gave you money? You know what I mean?" And donors just came and we've been praying about that.
Right. Right.
It seems crazy, but that's, I guess, if you in the purpose of God. That's what he does. He puts you in the green grass and he provides for you. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. All right. Last thing or so, we got a big month coming up this weekend in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You'll be at the Super Bowl, and I'll see you. And where you're going to go to San Francisco, and then
Yeah.
come down to St. Pete. You keep a pretty busy schedule. Why do you stay so busy?
Okay. So what I love is the championship.
Yeah.
And then we're less than 3 weeks. We're into Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Now, I've never been in New Orleans. I'm so looking forward to that. That we imagine us 96 people, and we can go there, and so that's exciting. And then we've got small little events, and then I think what happens is you meet up with friends who play a part in your growth, and they're doing good work, and then suddenly they event leaders, and you want to be able to support them. And so I like to start the first quarter fast.
Yes.
That builds us up. You know what I mean? But certainly from the college championships, that's an opening for the new year. You know, and I mean it's going to be 3 or 4 days, and being together, being in a smaller team. There's also teaching. It's really a wonder. It's a step up to Super Bowl.
Yeah, y'all helped it grow. I think it's the third year that we were out there. Were you in Los Angeles? You were, weren't you?
I was. That's a story in itself, because they had that the storm in the Pacific, and Alex and I had never had any rain gear.
Oh, that's
And
right.
and so I told him, I said, Alex, I've lived there. It doesn't rain in California.
That was funny.
Yeah.
That was a good time. COVID dogs and all that. And then last year, y'all really got it going. And this year, it's got 9 people. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then there's a few other individuals who will be driving in.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's huge. Next year, Miami. And so I think this thing will keep growing. And so it'll be good.
It's going to be in Miami, eh?
That's fun. Yeah, next year.
Yeah. No.
Super Bowl in San Francisco, the college football championship in Miami next year. So
Yeah.
they're coming the spectrum, man. Coming the country. All right. Any last thoughts to share, Sterling?
I think it just what we do is getting back to basics. I'm also amazed at the street level. The street level is very elementary. So we just have to give them amazing snippets of who this Christ is to turn their ears towards us. You know, I don't have to go and talk about the feet of the statues and things like that. I just have to tell them about this Christ, you know. I don't have to go into Leviticus. I don't have to get heavy. Just tell them who this is, because so many people have a different perception of who this Christ is. But when you show them the real Christ, I think they'll fall in love with him.
That's right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Well said. All right, Sterling, good to be with you. Thanks so much for chatting.
Okay.
I'll see you in New Orleans, Lord willing.
Yeah. And also Tampa.
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
St.
Pete. God bless. And thank you. Then.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
A great concluding remark. You know, that the key here is, ironically, is that a key is the simple work of, in this case, the evangelist. But what helps you simplify him is to know him well, and then knowing him. There is that element of sort of having your moving out a religious perspective, like he died for my sins, and so forth. He did me a favor, and so forth, to really appreciate him as a person, a being, and that's really the catch. That's what helps you to summarize easily, simplify easily to people. I think also your temperament is changed, as Sterling said. You know, we're not there to fight. We don't have that. It's it evaporates a little bit, dissipates the intensity of it all, because you have a real genuine sense that you know him, and your great mission is to not fight, but to tell people who he is. So great point, Sterling. All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll hope to see you soon. Come join us at the Super Bowl. Take care.